All right, we are recording. That's amazing. We were having some troubles getting started. Thanks for joining us for another You Never Know What's Going to Happen on Chronic Conversations edition special, Friday the 13th edition. We have a special guest in the studio, outside the studio, and hopefully everything will go okay with our technical equipment tonight, and we'll get it done as smoothly as we possibly can. Shout out again, as always, to Not Bad Creations for all your paracord needs. Whether you have a motorcycle and need get backs, or have an animal and need a harness, or bracelets, watch bands, just about anything you can think of or come up with, they could probably make it out of paracord. So get in touch with them on Facebook, and that's Not Bad Creations. And now let me introduce my guest tonight. He is from Middle Tennessee Paranormal. His name's Steven. Steven, thanks for joining us.
I'm glad to be on.
I'm glad we're on. We had a little hiccup in the beginning. I think we might have got it smoothed out. As we were discussing beforehand, I'd have a few little problems before, and starting to think that something didn't want us talking. So this is probably going to be one people want to watch. Before we get started, let's just go ahead and tell everybody about who you are. Explain what Middle Tennessee Paranormal is, what you do, and how you kind of got started.
So we got the name Mid-Tennessee Paranormal. We're from Middle Tennessee. We're about 30 miles east of Nashville, a little small town, very small country town. But me and my wife started back probably 2019, and we was trying to get into locations and could not get into none unless you had a paranormal team name.
Right.
So I'm like, it's the same two people that's renting it, versus the group name. It doesn't make no sense to me. So I was like, all right, Mid-Tennessee Paranormal, here we are. And that's basically how we got started. We did some volunteering here in Tennessee at some locations, and just been pounding the pavement ever since.
I know. So you've done some investigating yourself, and it looks like you take others on investigations as well. Is that correct?
We do. We go coast to coast. We go anywhere and everywhere. And our biggest following, believe it or not, is not in Tennessee. It's in the Midwest, Iowa, Kansas,
Right.
stuff like that. And so we've been doing a lot out in Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
And but we also have a courthouse here in our hometown that we have acquired and running paranormal investigations out of it and events. So we've been doing that as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Where, just real quick, normally I say this at the end of the show, but real quick, where can people find you if they want to get in touch with you about some of these events or want to be a part of them?
You can go to the Mid-Tennessee Paranormal page, or you can go to Haunted Smith County Courthouse page on Facebook. We've got TikTok for Mid-Tennessee, Instagram. Find us on there and we can get a message.
When you have people coming through, do you find a lot of first timers coming through?
As far as spirits or people coming through the door to
Yeah,
events?
people coming through the door and to those events and such things, the investigations.
Yeah, especially here in my hometown. It's like I said, it's a very small town, and like we haven't ever advertised anything to do with the paranormal here
Mm,
because it's like that Bible Belt,
understood. Yeah.
and so we was like, forget it, because we didn't want to be that person, standing in line at the grocery store and be like, "Ooh, look, that's some devil worshippers,"
Right.
something like that. But believe it or not, I
Do
mean,
you think
people
with
really
all the
took to
shows
it.
out there today that people are still, you think because it's a small town, do you think, with, I mean, there's so many it's such a big thing compared to when I first started getting into it, and probably when you did too. Is
Yeah.
it still not really that known?
I think it's all generation wise. Your older
Gotcha.
generations is the ones that are still
Might
pounding
not
it
be the
hard.
best things to play with. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I got a mama praying for me about stuff like that too. We in Ringo, Georgia. So, the first timers that do come through, what's it like? Have you ever got to see them have a first experience with the paranormal? What is that feeling like? Is it like you reliving it all over again?
Well, I mean, to me, I mean, it's, I'm glad they get that, like that concrete, evident or whatever to make them turn, to a believer from a skeptic. Like my wife's the biggest skeptic I know,
Mhm.
and she's seen full body apparition. She's heard stuff. I mean, the whole thing, but there's always something behind it, in which I'm okay with that. But to see somebody walk in the door, I mean, a couple of weeks ago I had an event. A guy as big as I was, he was probably 300 pound, a
Mhm.
big 6'4", 6'5" guy. He said, I don't believe in what you do. He said, I'm just here for my wife. I said, okay, maybe we can turn you tonight. So we done an experiment with him, and he actually got to talk to his stepbrother that passed away.
Oh wow.
And by the end of the night, he was in tears, and he shook my hand. He said, I'm glad I came. He said, I believe, you know.
Yeah.
So it was pretty neat.
On any level, it's such a transformational experience. The
Yeah.
ones that especially and say hello. This is my beautiful wife and co-host Jen, and also host of Getting Baked with Gran. That's her hand there. Uh, uh, what was I just see there? There it goes. I warned you about this at the beginning of the show. My brain leaping off the train of thought there. What was we just talking about? First
Big,
timers.
yeah, first time.
What was your first paranormal experience, and what was it
Uh,
like, and how did you process it? Because ours, we had, even to this day, you still, we're sort of in between the skeptic and believers. We believe, but not everything. We don't jump at every shadow. You know that you got to. I feel like you got to have that balance. Um,
right.
but what was I talking about? I just did it again. Man, this is gonna be one of them nights. Equipment having technical difficulties. It's my brain. Yeah, first
Yeah,
time.
first
We'll
time
talk about that
thing.
again. We'll just circle back around.
No, you was asking about what got me into it.
Yeah, yeah. Like what kind of experience did you have, and how did you process it? Was like you just like, oh yeah, obviously that's this, or because to this day we're still like, did that really happen? Like, yeah,
Well, mine was when I was very young, at like maybe
hmm
8 year old,
yeah,
and I was born in 81. My grandfather passed away in 84. He lived in our house with us, at the end of his time, and like I vaguely remember him, but I'm thinking
hmm
it's more of a picture images that I've seen growing up or whatever. But it was probably about 89, and he passed away in 84. I was about 8 year old, and I seen him walk down the hallway, and he had on his thick jacket, and I knew who he was from the pictures, stories, whatnot, and I can't remember what I done then, but I'm sure I told my parents about it or whatever. But I
right.
mean, it was clear as day, like me and you looking at each other. It was him. He just turned, looked at me, and just kept walking. And
Were you scared? Were you
growing,
comforted? Did you feel okay in the
no,
what? Were you
yeah,
just
yeah, it didn't bother me, like to scare me or nothing. Um, a kid, whatever, they say kids are more likely to hear, see, or, stuff like that. I don't know if that's what it is, but I've come to find out, if a kid tells you something, take it to heart, you
right?
know. But, I don't know. I mean, it wasn't like a misty thing. I mean, it was
Right.
full blown, 4K. There you are, it was dead on.
Yeah.
And I've seen stuff, later on in life and things in which we always lived in haunted houses and stuff. I think it was come with my mom's side because grandfather, her dad and stuff. He like you could always smell cigarette smoke, like cool cigarettes.
Yeah.
That's what he smoked, and you could smell it. I mean, in the house, whatever. And I think that's what it was. And we lived in pre-Civil War homes and stuff like that
Wow.
as well. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
always something going on.
Yeah, there is. Do you think do you think you're drawn to it or it's drawn to you? Because sometimes I've wondered about that because I've had experience spattered over time. And speaking of the experience you had, my daughter Alicia, one time after her grandmother had passed away, her um, she had told me a story similar to that. And at first I was just kind of discounting it and, patting her on the head, and that's great. And, because I didn't even think she really remembered her, but Marjorie, her name, wore glasses. And the thing that struck me, gave me chills, is she goes, and it was weird because Gran doesn't have to wear her glasses no more. And I thought, what an odd thing for a child that young
Right.
to notice and to say to me. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. And that still, just to this day, it gives me,
Yeah.
it gives me the big goose pimples. So again, do you think, like I said, do you think you're drawn to it, or do you think it's drawn to you, those experiences?
I think if you go in looking, in which, I can't say for sure, but we're not never going to know until we take that ride,
Right.
And, but,
We can't argue about it until we get there, right?
I do what?
We can't argue about it until we get there.
That's right. That's right. But I think if you go into a place, if it's a well-known location, it's been hunted so many times, whatever, I think they know. And if you go in looking for trouble, you're going to find trouble. But if you go in just as a normal human being, you know, just talking whatever to them, whatever, you'll get your responses and stuff. And I think like, well, I'm a nice guy. I mean, I really am. We don't provoke. We don't do nothing. We go in. I'll
Very
ask
respectful
you.
operation.
Yeah, if you pass away and I'm looking for you, I'm going to ask you, hey, Jerry, did you like chocolate cake? Did you like chocolate chip cookie? Something that they don't get asked 1,000 times. Touch that red light. Can you touch this? Can you touch
Yeah,
that?
can you flick this on?
Yeah, I'll ask you anything. Food wise, I ask you about your grandma, your mama, whatever. Just to get something. Something that's never really come across with them. That's
You ever are most of the things you've dealt with, have they been intelligent, or have you come across the what do you call it when it's the kind of the rehashing of an event over and over again, but it's not,
like a residual and
yeah, like a residual. Have you come
yeah.
across those type of hauntings as well, or have they mostly been intelligent hauntings?
I've come across both of them. I mean, like take for instance, like I mean, if you go, we just done a trip to Edinburgh Manor
Uh-huh.
in Monticello, Iowa, and that place hands down is the most active place I've ever been to in my life. You know, the gates of hell. I don't think it could be more haunted, but this place is. I mean, we walked in the first time. It was back in, I think it was March or April. It was freezing. We were setting up equipment, and we could hear outside the door because we had the door shut in this little tiny room setting up equipment, like 4 conversations going on. And I drew my pistol because I thought somebody was in the building,
Yeah.
and I was like, y'all stay in here, I'm gonna go out. So I walked it, nothing. But it's like as soon as you close that door and you forget about it, is when they
Hmm.
start back up.
Right.
And I mean that place, we actually got that full body apparition walk across that camera.
Oh
And I
wow.
don't know if you've seen it on our page or not, but it's on there.
I haven't.
Um,
I gotta find it though now. Now that you mentioned, I
it,
definitely gotta find that.
we set it up on a wired DVR camera, and we was trying to get out of there to go get something to eat because I mean, like the nearest little town was like 30, 40 minutes away, and it was nighttime. We was trying to hurry up before they
Oh,
closed,
right.
and so we set it up real quick and we hit the door and we were gone.
Mm-hmm.
And about 40 minutes maybe after we left, it's like this thing walks across to the front door from it, like admit it, I guess that's what it would be.
Uh-huh.
Um, but he has a high stride when he's walking. And to me, I mean, if you look at it, to me, that building was never original there. It was
Mm-hmm.
the original manor burnt, and they rebuilt in that spot. But to me, it looked like the guy, like his feet looked this long.
Right.
And to me, it looked like he had snowshoes on, and he was like treading snow, like how he pick your feet up real high to get
Mm-hmm.
up and go. And that's what it looked like to me. But he just clear as day, just walks across. He's transparent. You could see through it. At
Man,
some points, he's solid. It's
that's something
wild.
I would definitely love to see. I know Jen would probably love to see something like that as well. I guess that's really one of the top goals of a lot of investigators, I would imagine, is
Yeah.
seeing some kind of apparition. I had a little experience when my kids were little, where one time it was nighttime, and there's a couple different experiences with children in this same house. Once I was upstairs with a friend, and we both kept. I thought I kept hearing the kids, so I hollered down to them, and they wouldn't answer back. I thought that's weird, so I walked down there, nobody. Well, another time I woke up and I was still groggy and rubbing my eyes. So it's when you kind of see like the greenness and the shapes and stuff, but it was like a boy and a girl, which I have a boy and a girl, but it took me a second to realize it was kind of greenish and more like after something you would see after you rubbed your eyes, if that makes sense. It's really hard
Right.
to
Yeah.
describe. But and for a minute, that didn't even register that it wasn't my kids. I was still talking to him like it was my kids. It wasn't until it kind of dissipated and disappeared. Then all of a sudden I was like, okay, that was really weird. But I don't think my brain wanted to process it at all. I was just like, whatever, back to sleep, probably
Yeah.
dreaming. You ever have experiences like that to where you're not even sure, like, did that really just happen?
Yes. Yes. Quite a few. Um, I mean, I've caught so much crap out of the corner of my eye. I don't know if to believe it or not. Because I mean it's vivid enough. I know something's there, but I see it all the time, and in which the house I'm in now, our home, it's actually an active house.
Yeah.
Both people that had it built lived here. He was like 103, she was
Oh
97,
my gosh. Wow. 103 is
and she had or he had dementia and never knowed she died. So
Mm-hmm.
he was expecting her home every night,
Oh,
and they both died in my bedroom here on hospice. And I mean, her name's Shirley. She loved moonshine. Like, I found moonshine all over his house when we bought it. And they say don't investigate your own house, but curiosity killed the cat.
right, right.
But I can get equipment out and talk to her all the time. I've never got him. And but his obituary, the guy was like a war hero. I mean, he was like a good 6 finger scrolls on an
Wow.
obituary. I mean, he
Wow.
done everything. But I mean, we haven't. It's nothing bad. I just kind of give them their space. I guess they give me mine. They don't bother nothing.
Have you been able to communicate with him at all? I imagine the things he's seen while he's alive are just about as fascinating as the things he's seen
Right?
since. I mean,
Yeah.
what do
And
you
see,
ask somebody like that? And especially like you said, you don't want to ask the basic questions. You want to maybe tantalize
yeah,
them as you would want to be tantalized in that situation.
right. And see, I've tried my best to get him, and I don't know if he's, if he was a stern guy. I won't say military and stuff background.
Mm-hmm.
He probably don't want nothing to do with it. But he
Right.
was a avid big game hunter. When I bought the house, I opened the door and there stood a bear in the closet.
Oh, wow.
Like this, and I'm
Yeah.
like, what the? And there was a moose on the wall. A
That's what you
rack of
call
horn.
foreshadowing. I've seen some horror movies that started out like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. I mean, but she's friendly, and she'll she'll answer all the time.
Do you think most people confuse a ghost trying to get their attention with them being angry or demonic, and that's just something people always jump to, is that it's negative? What have you found in your hunts? Have you found most ghosts to be like the ones you're talking about, or have you found several negative entities, or what's more common that you've experienced so far in your line of work?
I mean, I think if you was an asshole when you was alive, I think you're gonna carry that with you.
Fair
I
enough.
do. I
Yeah.
do. And I've got, uh, I've come across a guy. He was a janitor, supposed to mess with kids at Farrar School. down close to Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
We did it one night, and I was sitting there. It was pitch black, dark in the boiler room where his office was and stuff. And I was, my wife was running the Estes method with the headphones, and
Right.
she's sitting there talking, and me and two other guys are sitting beside me, and yeah, it's cussing up a storm, F
Right.
you and all this stuff. And I'm like, so why you got to be so angry? I said, why are you coming at us like that? I said, what are you, just a freaking pedophile and all this stuff? And like something like kidney punch, like boom on my left
Oh,
side.
you
And
triggered
I,
somebody. Oh, yeah, you
yeah,
triggered.
yeah. And I jumped up and
Well,
I
that's the
actually
next
kind
question.
of
So you have
screamed a
felt
little bit. Yeah.
nice.
And
Oh my gosh.
that's the first time I've ever been like hit like it, touched and stuff. Yeah, it comes with it, but to be hit like that,
That
no, I
impactful.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I
I can't even
thought,
imagine.
yeah, and it's changed my mind on like I slept with a gun beside me for a long time, and if they can move something or if they can touch you, they can pull that trigger.
I've often thought that you watch shows and I've seen some where glasses spontaneously combust or
Yeah,
knives are coming at them, and I'm thinking that's a situation. Like I'm all down for residuals and even intelligence, like you said, nice people, or even if they want to fuck with them a little bit, I'm okay with that too. But if you're trying to murder me, like I can't, I don't want to hang out with you on that level. This is cool, but
right.
need it to be on that level. I always think that's a different level. Have you experienced flying objects at all? Any kind of poltergeists or danger other than the kidney thing?
I I had a wooden. It was golly, where was that at? Chatsworth, Georgia. I
It's really
think it
close
was
to us. We're in Ringo.
It was Chatsworth Hotel, I believe it was. It's no longer in operation. I think they're like a historical society now.
Gotcha.
And it's near a train yard or some train depot or train yard or something over there. But they would take these wooden balls and they would soak them in fluid for like mothballs,
Okay.
because they didn't have mothballs back in the day. So they would soak these wooden balls and put them in the closet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we was sitting there and like it was a single pane window. And if you ever tapped a single pane window, you know that sound.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know that little psh, psh sound to it. And we was sitting there, we was just talking and everything, and something just like psh, right beside me in that window. I thought, what in the world? I got up, turned the flashlight on, looked around, and I found this one single wooden ball. And I knew something was thrown because
Uh,
it was just right there.
that's
And
how you used to get your friends' attention back in the day, right?
yeah,
Hey Greg, you throw a rock at the window or something, or
yeah,
yeah. So you
we
definitely know
looked
that's
all
happening.
over the place and finally found it. And there was no wooden balls in that room. Well, we went to the next room and opened the closet up just looking, and there was wooden balls everywhere in there.
Oh my gosh.
And I thought, the hell, which I didn't have no cameras running or nothing. It was at the end of the night. We was coming down, just doing a little bit of EVP stuff. Didn't have no cameras, no nothing. I thought that's when it all happens, when you ain't got nothing running.
That's what I was going to ask. Does that happen very often? Because
Oh, yeah.
people they're always like, keep your camera ready, but the things we've experienced have been so random that's why it always seems to shock us, and it's like the first time again, because every time something happens, it's not like I always expected experiences to progress and get more frequent, things like that, but they don't. They're as random as ever,
Right.
from
Yep.
something moving to sounds of somebody walking to this, and it's never, like you said, it's never when I'm around something or can. It's usually after it happened that I'm processing and going, oh my god, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
Does
Yeah.
that happen a lot too, even though you have the
A
equipment
lot.
stuff that it's.
Yeah.
You think that's
We've
all?
got,
You think that's purposely, or is it just
I think well, if I
ironic?
had to guess, I'm going to say it's ironic and bad luck because you don't know my luck. If I didn't have bad luck, I wouldn't have none.
You seen how it started off, and already derailed from the "what the heck are we talking about" train a couple times. So I definitely understand that. Speaking of equipment, we've mentioned a few things, and one of the ways is the more evidence and evidence brought in different ways that kind of it creates a preponderance of evidence. And to do that, I know investigators use several different tools. What are your top 3 favorite tools to use in ghost investigations, and why?
Man, I mean, you fall back on, like, for me, it's recorders, video cameras, and I've got about anything you want as far as equipment. I mean, our REM pods are good. EDIs, they got 4 or 5 devices in one. But if I had to choose, I would say your REM pod, your recorder, and your camera.
I'll always enjoy the different aspects of technology. Do you keep up with things that are coming down the pike? Is there anything coming up that you're maybe excited to use that maybe be in the beta stages right now, or maybe getting ready to come out that you've seen?
Well, I think if I bought any more equipment, y'all would probably be hunting me from the wife killing me. Yeah, like I've had to consolidate on my equipment, like, to get it, because I've had like probably 11 cases that I carried, and full bags, 11 hard shell cases. And she's like, "You're going to have to do something." She said, I'm tired of carrying all this shit in. So I went to Walmart and I seen a guy that had this, and it really, like, perked me up. I was like, "Damn, I need that." It's like a rolling toolbox, and but it's got like a toolbox on the bottom. It's got another toolbox, but it all locks into place, so it don't move unless you unlock it.
Right.
And it's got divider trays you can stack on them and everything. So it's I'd say about 4 foot tall, but it's got a handle and wheels and different compartments. I mean, it holds everything I got. And
what if she made you sell everything but one piece of equipment? What one piece of equipment can you just not do without? If you're like, nope, I'll get rid of everything else, but I got to keep this, what would it be and why?
I'd probably say one of my Tascam recorders. I'd say, yeah, because them things are expensive, number one, and two, I mean, I could pick up something 2 streets over, It's pretty sensitive.
Right. For somebody starting out, what not only advice would you give them starting out, some of the ins and outs, but also if they, because when somebody's starting out, I'm sure you want everything, right? What, if they can't afford an expensive camera, if they can only afford some low tech equipment, what are some of the things that they could start out with, and what, like I said, what other advice would you give them starting out besides equipment?
Oh man, find a good mortgage company, give you a second loan on the house, maybe. No, you can get, I mean, the little Sony recorders, you can pick them up $30-$40, and believe it or not, I mean, I really like them things. They pick up real good. And some of these apps, which I've got SB7s and stuff like that, spirit boxes and stuff, but I very rarely fall back on them. Like, I use an app I got on my phones. It's Dead Wave.
Oh no. So that's kind of weird. You literally just disappeared in the screen.
Now.
Oh, there you are.
Okay.
I told you, man, them ghosts don't want us talking.
But I use Dead Wave on my phone.
Oh, your sound's really, really low right now. I can hear you, but can you hear me? So sometimes it's more like a no, sometimes it's more like a phone commercial. Can you hear me now? Let me try to I'm gonna.
I couldn't hear you. Hope you don't hang up.
Anything? Nothing still?
Wow.
Okay, he's gonna.
Okay,
Oh, I
there
hear
you
you.
are.
There you are.
There you are.
Man, that was so weird because you were still there, but you were gone. It was a blank screen. We gonna get through it though. We got
Yeah,
this. We ain't scared of no ghosts.
I can't remember what the hell we was even talking about.
I think they're trying to distract me. I'm gonna blame it on all them ghosts. I think we was talking about advice for people who were just starting.
Oh, yeah. The app and stuff, Deadwave, that's what I was talking about. The Deadwave app. It's like $10-15 online on the App Store, but to me, it's 100%. I mean, it works for me every time. And, I always test it with fingers like, hey, how many fingers am I holding up? My wife will be running Estes method and she'll be like 4, 3, 2, whatever, so I know, it's working.
So those apps can be crazy because we went to the Reed House in Chattanooga. I don't know if you're familiar with that place or not. It's a historical landmark. But we were staying there, and so just for shits and giggles, we downloaded something. I can't remember what it was now. Something on the laptop. It had like a ghost radar, and it's one of the things that had a whole bunch of words that the ghost could choose from.
Right.
We started seeing them pop up everywhere, and was like, "Oh, that's neat." Thinking, this is just one of those fun apps that is just probably doing some random algorithmic things to kind of make you have a good time. So first we see the ghost start popping up and everything, and then we start talking to it, and all of a sudden it says danger, Jen. And that's my wife's name. Well, first it said danger. It was like, who's in danger? And it goes Jen. It was like, okay, so that was kind of weird, that's very coincidental. And then what happened? What was it next that we asked?
I don't know.
It was like go or something.
Smell though.
Yeah, that was
perfume.
Yes, the colognes and perfumes, and talk about the smells and stuff. So it was, I don't know if it was just so active that anything would have picked it up in that kind of situation, or it was a algorithmic thing that just got really lucky with some of the things. But it was definitely fun and fascinating to use. You've been talking about some of the places you've been to. What are some of the places you haven't been to yet that might be, and it can be bucket list type stuff too, some places that you just haven't been that you really want to investigate?
We've got a East Coast trip coming up in June, and we got things here and there, but before then, but Moundsville Prison, Pennhurst, Hinsdale House, Wildwood Sanitarium, Greystone Manor. It's all, it's going to be like a 7-day run, and it's going to be like 7 days, 7 locations. It's one every night. And then we're going to come back, go to work the next day, but for as like bucket list, I mean, if it's in the States, I mean, we can go, know, but
are you into more low key stuff like that hasn't maybe been, that's a little fresher and haven't been explored as much? Or are you like lean towards like the more famous things, the Conjuring houses and the places like that? Do you like both?
I like both because we run a courthouse here in our town that's off the radar. That I'm not looking to book it every night because I mean I don't have the time for that. I work a full time
stuff to do.
yeah, and but it's I like both. I like more of your, I'm going to say more hostile environment places.
Yeah.
But if I had to choose, I mean, it'd be more of your bigger places instead of like your hometown stuff. Well, I'm not going to say hometown stuff, like your houses, residentials, and stuff like that.
Right.
We got away from it, just liability purposes only,
Right.
for that reason. But now, you said that you're from Georgia, right?
We're in Ringo, Georgia currently. Yes. I'm from
Okay.
Chattanooga, Tennessee, originally.
Okay. So how was you raised up in a church or anything like that?
Some off and on, but more as a teenager in early 20s. Definitely in the church with my mom and stepfather. He was a preacher and ran a halfway house in Chattanooga for a little while and ran services and preached. So I do have.
What was you brought up as? Like what denomination?
Well, see, it was everything. Like my mom took us to a couple different churches, like a Presbyterian. She was raised Catholic. My stepdad is mostly Baptist, and I ended up in a Church of God for a while. So it's I guess the Heinz 57 of denominations.
Well, I was raised up Baptist my whole life, until
My uncle's a Baptist preacher.
yeah. And we were always told when you die it was heaven or hell, there was no in between.
Right.
And it's not, doing this paranormal, it's not got me questioning in my faith, but I have questions.
Right.
But because like I always ask,
That's fair.
out of thousands and thousands of things I've talked to, I've always asked how have you seen God? Have you seen the other side? Have you seen heaven? It's all no. And it's like 96% always say it's dark where they're at. It's dark and they've not seen nobody.
Here's just a weird theory off the top of my head, and I'm just definitely talking shit. Do you think there could be different parts of the spirit, like within the mind? There's the ego, and then there's us separated from the ego colloquially, more than like Freudian or something. Do you think that maybe that's a part that's left behind is the ego, or almost like that piece that's in that, and then the rest goes? Or do you think it's a whole being that the whole thing should travel all together?
I think it would all. It's just me thinking, but all would go together.
Yeah.
But that's why I always ask. Whenever I do experiments and stuff, I always ask, "Can you see me right now?" And we doing an experiment where we get answers yes and no. It's called a human pendulum, and I ask, "Can you see me? Yes or no?" And if it goes to yes, I'm like, "All right." So I'll step behind the people and show somebody, and I'll put fingers behind my back, hold up 2 fingers, and I'll be like, am I holding up 3 fingers? That guy go to no. Am I holding up 6? He go to no. I'm like, am I holding up 2? It'd be yes. So they can see us.
Yeah, so they showed multiple forms of intelligence. They can see, they can experience. They have emotion by the things they describe. Has there ever been a situation? The classic movie trope is that the ghost reaching out for help. Have you ever had that experience where something paranormal was reaching out to help, and were you able to, or would you even know what to do? I mean, how do you go about something like that if one does reach out?
I've never had that happen, but a lot of people try to cross over or whatever. I mean, I'm not in that business, and to be honest with you, I wouldn't even know where to start.
Yeah.
With it, I'm contrary. I'm like, hey, they say there's a light. You need to find that joker. Go towards it. Do something.
I seen this one movie.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how to do that, and I'm not going to give somebody false hope, dead or alive.
The green light or the blue light? Oh, I don't know. I didn't know there were more than one.
Exactly. But we've been back to the Edinburgh Manor. We was in the basement. Like, there's supposedly a guy, they call him the Joker. And he likes to play pranks, and he's just a bad boy. And we were sitting in the cafeteria part was running EVP session, I said, "Is there anything you want me to do?" He said, "Pray to your fucking God." That's what it
Wow.
came across on the EVP. And
Goodness.
I listened to it.
Like, how do you
I
respond
mean,
to that?
yeah,
I do.
and like we're sitting in the darkest room you could ever imagine. And there, I mean, you can't see your hand in front of your face. And as soon as that thing come across the speakers, it was just like lights, all of
Oh,
it come
man,
on. I was like, no, I ain't gonna mess with that, you know. But it's, you know, if it's something bad, you know, a lot of people, you know, say it's demonic if it's cussing. You know how many times I've been cussed out on the
right.
spirit box, you
Again,
know?
like you said, maybe it's an asshole.
Yeah, yeah. You know, if I don't get cussed out, hell, I'm doing something wrong. You know,
Right.
that's why I say because every place I've went, it's always, you know, it's like it's kind of like if you're pestering them,
Yeah.
you know, they're like, get the hell away, you know, whatever, you know, but
I've
we
often wondered
don't,
that too, if they want to
yeah,
rest in peace and be left alone, or if they do get something off the energy they can possibly feed off of, or the vibe, or do you think they prefer to be left alone, or is it like people, just different? Like some are like, I wish some motherfuckers would come in here and ask me to flick some lots, and then
yeah,
like, I
yeah,
wish y'all would just go away before, I stab you in the face.
yeah.
Um,
Because you know, if you think about, I mean, like, you know, I know there's younger people that has passed, but whatever. But you know, your older generation, they were they were mindset on stuff. You know, they didn't play
right.
games. They didn't touch red lights. They didn't. They work and come home.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's all they done.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, that guy could be sitting in his recliner in his underwear, you know, eating cereal. And here you are, you know, hey, can you touch this for me? Can you move this? He's like,
Right.
damn,
Yeah.
you know, whatever. You know, if it's a play like a reoccurring thing, you know, I'd be pissed off too.
He's just trying to live his life, and that's what probably he is most comfortable, because like all of us, we have our, whether it's reading or playing a video game or whatever, things we want to do
Right.
to relax. So I could definitely see in that situation where, yeah,
Yep.
come on, bro. I'm trying, I can't even get no peace. I done died, and I'm not some bullshit
Yeah.
right here. I don't know.
Yeah. Exactly.
Let me
And
get that rule book again. Where did they say that? I didn't think. I thought I had some time or something.
yeah, well, there ain't no grace period there.
Uh-uh.
Nothing. But yeah, it's, I mean, you know, like we say, we're not going to know till we make that trip, you know. But, you know, I've always told everybody, you know, the day I die, have your shit ready. Because if I can do some shit, I'm coming back, you know, be prepared.
I would think there's, even the famous story about Houdini, who said, if there's a way back, I'll find it. And you think he'd be the one. But, and now that we're in this generation of the paranormal hunting and things, do you think as that generation passes, are these going to be the people that they're talking to in the future? You think there's some kind of intent before you pass to be that has something to do with whether you're going on or staying here, or sort of like they say, how you die if you die tragically. Do you
Yeah.
think intent could have anything to do with it as well?
You know, I honestly think if you die tragically, like if well, not even really tragically, you know, if you have a massive heart attack in your sleep, well,
Right,
you're expecting to wake up that next morning.
right,
You know, you don't know what happened. You're there, you know, and next thing you know, there's people in your house and everything else. And, you know, how do you cope with it, you know? But I think a lot of it too is I think if you die and pass on, you may be given that option to take that road less traveled.
right,
And a lot of people may be scared or afraid to leave somebody behind.
right.
You know, they're just nervous or whatever, you know, because I'd be like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to go down that road or not, you know, right now, you know, I don't know
Right.
what it
Or
goes.
could it even be possible one of those things? Because when I think about, my kids, like when I think about passing away, I don't think of fear of me being gone. I think of what I leave behind and my kids and
Right,
grandkids and my wife and things like that. That's what would be scary to me is them having to face that. Uh,
right.
do you think that could have something to do with it too? That maybe sometimes they stay behind because they feel like we're not ready for them to pass on?
Well, that was my dad. My dad passed away in 16, and preacher come out and talked to him, and he, asked him about death. He said, "Death don't scare me at all." He was like, "The only thing that bothers me is," and he pointed to some grandkids that was on the wall, and he said that's what I'm afraid to leave behind.
Right. Yeah.
And he was like, "Death don't scare me at all."
Yeah.
He says, "Just leaving them here."
Mm-hmm.
Which I got 3 kids, and my brother's got a ball team full and stuff like that. But it's, I think possessions and stuff too. I honestly think people can get attached to them.
Mm-hmm.
My dad, I have his old car now. He had a '64 Impala, and he would have sold one of his kids before he got rid of that car. And I have it now. It's in the garage. It's not going nowhere. But I think if he was attached to something, it's going to be that car.
Plus, speaking of possession, I noticed people that were attached like that in life, and after they pass, that it almost like enforce or brings out more of the attributes of like that person. Do you think that's a part of it too, because they're with you and you start sort of taking on some of the more of their personality type of thing going on?
I do. I honestly do. It, the more day to day, I catch myself, like in the summertime and stuff, I'll go down there and tinker with that old car all the time. And then I'll, leave it alone a couple of months, and then, it'd be like something hits me and I'll go back down there and start messing with it, whatever, and it's not, I'm not in no hurry to get it, done or whatever. It ain't got to have a lot of, yeah. It ain't like it's got to have a lot of work. It's just, I'm in no hurry for it, but I think, if you got something that somebody was really attached to, that somebody may have gave like a mother or father or something before they died. And you're going to hold an attachment to it.
Do you and or your wife ever worry about any of your investigations bringing anything home with you or attachments or or what you would do if you thought it happened? We talked about that a minute ago. I don't know what to do. So what if you was literally bringing some of your work home with you?
We actually did. We brought a little boy home with us, a young kid, and it was from a location, and my wife was behind me. And a vehicle. We took 2 separate vehicles down to this location, and we just left Crystals, fixing to hit Monteagle Mountain, and coming back to Nashville, and we get on the interstate from getting something to eat, and she calls me and she's like, "Hey, pull over for a minute." I was like, "Why? We just got on the interstate. We hadn't even hit the bottom of the mountain." And she's like, "Just pull over." So I pulled over at the gas station. As I'm getting off the off ramp, she said, "There's somebody in the back of your car waving at me, a little boy." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And like, I have his picture. It's fucking hilarious. I told her, I said, "Draw it for me and send it to me." She drawed like 2 humps for a headrest and had a little kid waving like this.
Oh,
and I'm like, so I pull over at the gas station. I got the doors open going, "Hey, you got to get your ass back. You ain't coming back with me. You got to go back." But it did.
That seems like the most useful method that I've noticed. Excuse me, and all the things that I've seen just on television and such. I don't know how close to it. Excuse me. Suck that water down the wrong way. But it's just simply to be emphatic in your statements to them and letting them know that you control the situation and they don't. The only time I've seen a lot of trouble, it seems like, when they sort of, I don't know how to describe it, maybe give the whatever credit or like, "Wow, you're powerful," or "Wow, you did that." That if it's an evil thing, do you think that could encourage it or
Yeah, I think if you're weak, if you go into a location you're scared to death, I think they play on that. And like, we had a couple of guys or couple people on our team that's no longer with us, and they were that way. And I'm like, stand your ground, stuff like
Right,
that. But this little kid we had here, we went back to this location 2 weeks later,
Mm-hmm.
and I opened the door, and I was like, at the house, I had the car door. I was like, look, get your ass in. We're going back, stern like a parent. I was like, come on,
Yeah,
you ain't staying here. Come on. Because this kid
he
had my
probably
dog.
understands that the best, right? I mean,
Yeah,
if it's a kid, then
yeah. And, I had my dogs barking and stuff. And freaking, my wife was sweeping. She threw her arm up. She's like, you got to do something. You got to take him back. Take him back. I'm like, what do you want me to do? I ain't going way back down there right now. He's just going to be here for a minute. But I think, it's just a kid being a kid, nosy to see where he can go.
Curious, pushing the limits, things like that. And like you said, you get firm with it, then it's like any other kid. It's like, oh, he's serious now. Let me go back and
But I've not had nothing bad come back, or anything like that. But bad and evil is, to me, is two different animals,
right?
I don't. A lot of these people say,
evil is an entity to me. Bad is a personality trait of a person that has passed away, like you said, an asshole.
Yeah. And you're not, I'm not going to say you're not going to, but you have a less likely chance of running into a demon than just at a location like a home or something like that. I mean, yeah, it could be anywhere, but it's not going to be in, Chattanooga at Grandma Bell's house, or something like that. I hear it all the time. Oh, it's demonic. It's demonic. No, demonic, demons ain't going to play with your equipment.
Right.
They're not going to touch that red light. A cat ball, they're not going to turn a cat, but hell, they probably chew a cat ball up, or something.
Yeah.
They're not going to play with it. They're not going to do it.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. I just think people confuse that confuse maybe either a ghost being an asshole or just simply trying to get their attention, because if I didn't know how to get your attention and I could, throw a pin or, smash a light, or I mean, especially like you said, we won't know until we get there of how much energy they need to perform these things. And if anything can do it, or there's so many variables. So it could just simply be the ghost trying to get your attention.
Exactly.
And not be evil at all. But I think that's the idea of something we don't know is scary. So we kind of make everything a horror movie, basically, in our minds. And I would imagine that'd be the wrong mindset to have going into that. Well, we've just about made it through, man. I'm excited. We've had a couple little glitches, but overall, I feel like it's done good. And I don't want to jinx this, because it is a recording, so we knock on some wood and thank you to the entities and whoever else have this. We appreciate you, and I appreciate you, Stephen, for being on this show with me tonight. Before we go, though, is if people do want to check out what you're doing, tell them again where they can find you and what all's coming up.
You can find us at Mid-Tennessee Paranormal on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Haunted Smith County Courthouse is our location. You can rent out for the night, do events, however you want to do it. We'll work with you.
Get out there.
We got East Coast lined up. We got a birthday run coming up. January 7th is my birthday. We're going to be at the courthouse. We're doing with
happy early birthday.
Appreciate it. A team out of East Tennessee, Outlaw Paranormal. They're going to be there with us, and we've been doing a lot of filming and stuff with them here lately, and doing more with them. So we're going to probably tag team this year and take 2023 out. Yep.
Oh, awesome. So definitely, and you'll see by the time this comes out, we will have shared several things. Be sure to check our page out too, because we'll have links on our page as well, if you haven't found them by then. And something I like to tell all my guests is that the one gift that you can't get back is time. So I truly am grateful and appreciate you giving me this time and our listeners this time. I appreciate the listeners who spent time checking us out instead of doing one of the million other things you could be doing. Definitely check out Mid-Tennessee Paranormal on their Facebook page and all they're doing, and go visit them if you get a chance and you're interested in that kind of thing. And maybe, like I said, maybe we'll plan a trip up there and maybe we'll do a show out of it. I don't know what kind of getting baked with grand show we would do because I don't know what you cook. They might mess things up, but we'll figure something out. We're pretty brother, stick with me as I wrap this up. And like I said, I appreciate you, man. Thank you very much.
All right.
All right. And join us next time for Chronic Conversations. And also check us out. We have our new skit show to be yet to be named coming out fairly soon. We have some episodes of Getting Baked Grand will be coming out very soon, and we thank everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time. You want to say bye, my love?
Bye.
All righty. We will see y'all later. Peace, and rest in peace to all the ghosties that are watching.